Good evening and welcome. I'm your host, Liz Wheeler, and this is Tipping Point. Tonight, Senator Al Franken announces on the floor of the Senate that he plans to resign his seat in the face of half a dozen allegations of sexual harassment, including taking a photo pretending to grope a sleeping woman and allegedly grabbing the butt of a U.S. military service member while she was deployed overseas. More in just moments with Megan Barth. Then, 58 Democrats in the House of Representatives voted to proceed on a motion to impeach President Trump. They talked to us about threats to democracy, but ignoring the people's vote because of liberal hatred of Trump? Talk about a real threat to democracy right there. John Gabriel is here for that shortly. Plus, the U.S. gives the Palestinian Authority $300 million a year. Guess how much money the Palestinian Authority pays terrorists to kill Israelis and Americans? Yep, that's right, $300 million a year. Finally, the U.S. House of Representatives is doing something about that. Congressman Ron DeSantis joins us later. But before we begin all that, thank you for being here tonight because our nation is at a tipping point. If we don't turn America towards liberty, then we risk losing the America we know forever. So let's get started. Our first tipping point tonight, Senator Al Franken announces on the floor of the Senate that he plans to resign his seat in the face of half a dozen allegations of sexual harassment, including taking a photo pretending to grope a sleeping woman and allegedly grabbing the butt of a U.S. military service member while she was deployed overseas. Now, it was not until yesterday that any Democratic senators called for Franken's resignation. That was after a sixth woman came forward and accused Senator Franken of sexually harassing her and touching her inappropriately. My question is, what took so long for the Democrats to condemn Franken? What was it about this sixth woman that convinced them he's a sexual predator when they didn't seem to care about the first five women, even when there was photo evidence of his sexual misconduct? This is Senator Franken's pseudo-apology on the floor of the Senate this morning. Take a look.
Over the last few weeks, a number of women have come forward to talk about how they felt my actions had affected them. I was shocked. I was upset. But in responding to their claims, I also wanted to be respectful of that broader conversation, because all women deserve to be heard and their experiences taken seriously. I think that was the right thing to do. I also think it gave some people the false impression that I was admitting to doing things that, in fact, I haven't done. Some of the allegations against me are simply not true. Others I remember very differently. Nevertheless, today I am announcing that in the coming weeks, I will be resigning as a member of the United States Senate.
Joining me now, founder of ReaganBabe.com, Megan Barth. Megan, thanks for joining me.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Liz. Thanks.
This is the worst apology. I mean, every one of these men who have been outed by the hashtag #MeToo campaign, by women finally being able to speak up and being listened to and believed in their sexual allegations, their apologies are so egregious. I mean, he talks about the way he feels. I felt this way. I felt that way. I was upset. I was shocked. No one cares about your feelings. We care about whether you molested women or not. And Megan, correct me if I'm wrong, but did he actually even resign?
Yeah, that's the big question. Is this going to be a bait and switch? He didn't immediately announce his resignation, saying that he was going to step away today or tomorrow. He's going to wait a couple weeks and resign. But it looks like after stealing an election 7 years ago, he met a girl named Karma. And when you have this type of predatory behavior over the course of years, there is a pattern that has been established. So it really doesn't matter how Al Franken feels, and he didn't really issue an apology to those women. He simply spun it around and then started blaming Judge Roy Moore, who's a Senate candidate in Alabama, as well as President Donald Trump.
Right. It's shocking. And again, he diatribed for about 10 minutes. Did he ever once use the word sorry or I apologize?
No, not once. And I listened to the whole thing, waiting to hear that I'm sorry if I made anyone feel this way. I'm sorry for my actions that may have caused some woman to feel uncomfortable. He never once uttered I'm sorry or anything to at least take any accountability on what he may have done in order to make these women feel harassed or assaulted.
Right. It's absolutely shocking here. So he talks for 10 minutes. The way that this has been headlined across the board by all the mainstream media outlets is Al Franken resigns from the Senate, when in fact for 10 minutes he spoke. He did not resign. He just said that he planned to resign, which is not good enough in my opinion. He did not apologize to these women. He did not say the word sorry even once. In fact, he said that he felt upset about how they interpreted his actions, which is condescending and rude, and he denied ever doing any of these things. The only thing that he has not denied is that which we have photo evidence of. We can show this on the screen again. This was the first allegation that came to light. It was Leanne Tweeden. She was a radio show host. She worked with him on a USO tour. As you can see in the picture, he's groping her while she's asleep. He didn't resign. He didn't say sorry, and he didn't admit to doing any of these things. What was the point of this little performance?
Yeah, this was more of a charade. And as we waited for weeks to have more and more Democrats came forward, there was just stone cold silence from the Democrats. So don't think that this pseudo apology or this charade has anything to do with the protection of women or the champions of women. This has everything to do with politics. And I find the timing of this charade quite coincidental in the fact that Judge Roy Moore has the renewed support of the RNC in his campaign. So it tells me that there's probably some polling going on, that both the RNC and the DNC know that Alabama's a lock. And so now that the Democrats are kind of faced into a corner with multiple allegations against multiple senators and multiple powerful Democrats now that have come to light, they need to do something politically to reestablish themselves as the champions of women, and that there is a Republican war on women.
Right. So let me get this straight. There's been six separate women on six separate occasions who have accused Al Franken of sexual harassment. This stretches all the way back to his time when he was on Saturday Night Live or when he was with the USO before he was a senator. Then there were women while he was senator who said while he was a sitting member of the United States Senate, they were sexually harassed by him. 5 of these women came forward, and we hear nothing from the Democratic senators. Nothing. No calls to resign, no condemnation, just pivoting away from it. Then suddenly, this 6th woman, I believe it was yesterday, came out with this allegation, and only then do a group of Democratic senators come out and call for his resignation. It does seem to me a little suspect that the party that claims to champion women only champion women when it's politically expedient for them.
Right. And like I said, this is all about politics. This has nothing to do with protection. Look what Nancy Pelosi said about John Conyers. Her first statement to the press wasn't that John Conyers must resign. It was, well, do we know these women? It was just a couple of allegations. John Conyers is an icon. And then we have this piling on of Al Franken. I think that's one of the reasons why he didn't resign, because he felt slighted and he felt cornered and he felt targeted by his own party. They are making an example out of him rather than an example out of really truly issuing an apology for these allegations that he may or may have not done. However, we do have a pattern, we do have photographic evidence, and we do have some level of admittance when he doesn't even apologize and says, I remember things differently. It doesn't matter what you remember, Senator Al Franken. It matters on how you made those women feel.
Right. Plus, he wouldn't resign either if it weren't true. He just thought his party was going to cover for him like they have done to so many people in the past. This is incredible, too. I want to play this little clip. This is Franken this morning during this 10-minute performance where instead of taking responsibility for his own actions, apologizing to these women, talking about how he's going to change or how he is actually going to champion women, he takes a shot at Donald Trump and Roy Moore. Take a listen.
I, of all people, am aware that there is some irony in the fact that I am leaving while a man who has bragged on tape about his history of sexual assault sits in the Oval Office, and a man who has repeatedly preyed on young girls campaigns for the Senate with the full support of his party.
All right, Megan, so this is my theory. My theory is that the Democrats came behind Franken and they said, listen, we have to sacrifice you. You have to be the sacrificial lamb because we need to pretend that we have the moral high ground. We need to constantly point to you and John Conyers as saying, like, listen, we do the right thing when these circumstances come, and compare that to Donald Trump and all those allegations that didn't hold any water. That's what they're actually doing. They're not standing for women. They're using this as a political tool. And Al Franken, sorry to say, has to be kicked out for it.
Yeah, this is all about politics. And let's just take a look at Judge Roy Moore and the allegations against Donald Trump. They were both led by Gloria Allred. She's a political opportunist. She is a political opportunist for the Democrat Party. And so if she's going to use allegations as weapons and the Republicans are going to fold like a cheap tent, we are never going to be able to run a conservative candidate. And so I believe that there is stronger polling for Judge Roy Moore. And I talk to Alabama radio twice a week. Alabamans are supportive of Judge Roy Moore, but the Democrats aren't really the supportive, they aren't the champions of women. They don't really support women, because if they did believe every allegation that came forward, then Juanita Broderick and Paula Jones would be believed.
Right, absolutely. You can look at their history to see the truth, and the truth is they don't champion women unless it's politically expedient for them, as in this case. Megan, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We have Fred Flights here next to tell us exactly how we can put the phony Russia investigation to rest once and for all. Fred is here right after the break.